We're live.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Acquiesce Fall Experience Package virtual tasting. Glad to see everybody here tonight. We have the winemaker and owner, Sue Tipton, and our resident somm at Acquiesce, Norma Poole, and they will guide you through tonight's three wines. I know some of you have purchased the experience package. Those of you who haven't, keep in mind that the three wines we're tasting tonight were also included in the fall club shipment. So if you want to reach for one of those bottles, go right ahead. I will keep an eye on the questions. If you have a question you'd like to ask Sue or Norma, type it in the Q&A. You'll see a little link at the very bottom of the screen. If you click on that, there's a place to ask a question, and I will get that in as we go through the tasting. And I'll also keep an eye on the chat dialogue on the right in case somebody asks a question there. We'll make sure we get everybody covered. So with that, I turn it over to Sue and Norma, and have fun.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm so happy to have you part of this. I know that there's something else going on TV right now, and you've chosen to join us and talk about our wines instead of more politics, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so excited to share these wines with you. The three wines we're featuring tonight are some of the most rare wines in the U.S. That in a little bit. First of all, I just kind of want to tell you, for people that don't know me, I'm Sue Tipton, the owner and winemaker here at Acquiesce, and we opened our winery in 2012. We feature and grow only white Rhone varietals plus a rosé. And our whole focus is on making quality white wines here. And that's why I'm so happy to share them with you. I'm lucky to have Norma Poole on our staff, and she's a sommelier with mega talents and years in the industry, and kudos to Norma. She taught wine classes in Napa for years and worked at many famous wineries, including ours. So yes. So I hope everyone has got the wines kind of laid out. We've had a few questions about the wines. They taste just fine if they're a little warm, so don't worry about letting all three bottles sit out throughout this conversation. We're hoping for about an hour total. That'll give us some time to get through all three wines and the pairings that we have planned with them. And then Norma's suggestion is don't fill your glass too full now, because we're going to be doing some swirling and sniffing, and that makes it easier if the glass isn't too full. That's for after the tasting, right?
We won't judge then, right?
Right, no judging then. So to start off our Bourboulon, because we certainly want to start off tasting the wine. That's like, so our 2019 Bourboulon, first winery vineyard in California to plant this varietal. It's been grown in California. It's been grown in France since the 1500s, but it's usually part of a blend, and it's super rare even in France to try it on its own. So we feel very fortunate to be able to share this with you. We've had a few masters of wine really interested in it because they've not been able to try it single varietal. And also I want to let you know, first off, please feel free to jump in with any questions or anything you'd like to chat about. This is about sharing this experience with you, and we're here to help guide you through it. The next best thing to having our tasting room open, which of course it hasn't been open since March. So, Bourboulon. I would say there's probably maximum planted in the U.S. We have 1 acre here. It was planted in 2016, so it's really new for us. Really unique varietal. You know, I get all kinds of great flavors in this, and these wines really are kind of hard to pin down because it's not just one-dimensional. These wines have a lot of different aromas and flavors going on. But I'll turn it over to Norma, who's our tasting expert here, and she can kind of walk us through some of the aromas that she's getting on this wine.
Well, Bourbon is truly, there are no what we call in sommelier language markers for it. Rather, Cabernet Sauvignon, there are typical aroma and flavor markers, characteristics that the Cabernet tends to fall in that. The same goes with Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Sauvignon Blanc, and, as you know, the more familiar varietals. So the first time that I smelled this wine, and actually Sue had reminded me, this is a very young vineyard. You planted it, Sue, in 2016, right? So
Right.
it has, it's changing even from the last vintage. I like to swirl a lot. And, this is all part of the enhancing your tasting experience because you taste with your nose. And I also like to cover the glass. And I'm using a wide base, actually as a Burgundy Rhone Riedel glass that makes your aroma and tasting experience, it really enhances it. So you want to really get geeky, try different size glasses and do the smell and taste test with it. So when I smell this wine, actually I look at the color of it. All Sue's wines are this beautiful. Sue, your wines are so like a hint of straw, very clear in the center. And as I look out into the inside rim, they get this beautiful, like a brilliant kind of a glow. Do you know how hard this is to get? Tell everyone how you do it. I mean, how do you get it so clear, so crystal bright, and so shiny?
Well, a lot about making a good wine happens in the vineyard. So our key to success here is the work that we put into the vineyard. And we have several passes through the vineyard, shoot thinning, cluster thinning. We usually cut off about a half to a third of the clusters every year. Everything is hand-picked. It's sorted at the picking bin. It's sorted again at the press. I look at every cluster that goes into the press. And then what I'm looking for are berries that might have issues that I pull out. Also leaves and anything that doesn't belong in the wine. And so that also keeps the wines nice and clear because you're not putting material other than grapes, which is called MOG, M-O-G, material other than grapes into the wine. So we're really selective about what we do. Obviously, if you're a large production winery, this is a step that's difficult. It can be done with optical readers, but it still doesn't have the human touch when you do it that way. So yes, and so everything we do is whole cluster pressed. So the grapes are just picked right from our vineyard and they're put right in the press right there at the winery. And they're whole cluster pressed, put into stainless steel jacketed tanks. We keep them about 55 degrees. And then we rack them several times after fermentation. Fermentation is about 20 to 30 days, so it's a long, slow fermentation. And then we rack them, meaning you pull the juice off of anything that settles at the bottom. And that's key to what we do in keeping the wines nice and clear. We filter them, obviously, before bottling. Offers the best quality for our customers.
Well, you can really tell. Now, the aroma on this wine, I'm going to throw out a couple of my perceptions of this. And trust me, sometimes I spend days on analyzing these beautiful esoteric wines, like Bourbon Blanc and Claret Blanche especially. I got a little bit of, and what you want to think of first are some fruits. And I got in my notes the sweet clementines. Those little tiny oranges, they just lovely aroma, a little bit of that, and some beeswax. And, if you have never experienced those aromas before, one thing a sensory scientist taught me, it's very hard to explain an aroma to someone who has never experienced it. So I do say to you, go out and smell everything, smell your world. So is anyone smelling anything like a clementine, a beeswax, a little bit of mango. Or what are you smelling? Tell me what you get.
Tell Norma, what are you smelling? So ENT says it's crisp, clean, light, and refreshing.
Oh yeah.
This wine.
Sure.
And also, I wanted to mention we like to start with the wine and kind of taste the wine before we go into the pairings.
Absolutely.
So we'll try the wine first, and then we'll have a little pairing, and then we'll try the wine again. So the little pairing we have. You want to taste it?
Sorry.
Okay. So no, that's good. Good. We've got a green olive bruschetta from Italy that we imported to try with this. So, Rodney and I try many different things that we feel would be good matches for our wines. We find lots of great things, but to extrapolate them into the tasting room or make them available for our guests, we have to kind of get pretty picky about what we can share. But I have a little cracker here. I don't know if you have some crackers at home.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve says that he agrees that with pear, that he gets pear on the...
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Jennifer got that same thing too.
Oh, good. Well, there's really no wrong answer. It's your identification of your world of aromas in your own personal vocabulary. So
I'm sorry, I have a crunchy cracker, so I'm making a lot of noise.
Yeah, right. So tell me, what do you think about, does the flavor meet with the green olive tapenade? What are your impressions of that pairing? Oh. Ooh.
Well, the olive is definitely super bright.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like. You know how many wines do not hold up against salt? Or this is really, these are green olives, but they're not briny. And the texture is so lovely. Umami flavors, yes. Okay, totally. Texture, aroma, and the, when I tasted this the first time, the Bourbon, I got gripping Riverstone minerality. So you just take a couple of stones, rub them together, and you don't taste them, but you can smell them. But it's so hard to talk about minerality, but Sue, you make it.
You can taste them
with it.
The stones. When you're a little kid, you put rocks in your mouth. You know exactly what a stone tastes like. Little kid.
But I love how this holds it together. It meets it head on and says, yes, this is good. This wine does not back down to the olive tapenade. What do you think, everyone?
So this also is a great wine with, sashimi or any fish, obviously. So the Franklins get definitely mineral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Very minerally wine. And I think too, it's nice that, a lot of wines, especially more inexpensive wines from the grocery store, kind of fall flat after a little bit. This wine just keeps going. So it only has a great entry, mid-palate, but it also has a nice finish. So that's why I'm really thrilled to share this wine with you. Not too many people in the U.S. have ever tried a Bourbon Blanc. So it's really fun to be able to share this unique wine with you.
It's so incredible.
Yeah, the Franklins say... Go ahead, Robin.
I was going to jump in. We had a question. Gabrielle would like to know if you can talk about legs in wine. Does white wine have the same legs you see in red wine?
No, and yes. Okay, legs.
Okay.
Legs are also known as tiers with the French. And as a sommelier, in the day, we used to put a lot of store into the legs. What they are, it is the alcohol, the ethyl alcohols in the wine. The more alcohol, the higher percentage you have in your wine, the slower those legs will drip down the inside of your glass. So in doing it's really more something we use in blind tasting to swirl the wine and see how quickly those legs run down the glass. So with Sue's wines are like 12 and a half. I think the most is what, 13.5 for, some of your wines.
Right.
You look inside the glass and there's really not much. It's like a thin stream. So you can ascertain from this that there's great acidity and not very high alcohol, which is what we're going for. So the thicker the legs in white as well as red always refer to higher alcohol, and actually in sweet wines or fortified wines, it will refer to the sugar level as well as the fortification, which means they've added brandy or neutral spirits to it. Did that help?
I think so. It helped me.
Oh.
I'm always
crying right now.
No, I'm always shocked that our wines do have, even though the alcohol levels are low.
Right.
Because I know in higher alcohol wines you see them, but I'm surprised that even the Poole Blanc at 12.5%, you will see that on the glass. Where, and I think a lot of that might too have to do with the fact that we leave our wine sur lie, meaning it sits on the lees for 6 months. So I think it creates a more viscous wine. But that's my take to it. And I'm not
the thing is, your wines are balanced. Every winemaker in the universe is going for balance. So you could have a high alcohol wine, but there's no fruit, there's no complexity, there are no other aromas or flavors that combat with that. And your wines meet the flavor, the fruit, the spice, meet the acidity level, and it's perfectly balanced. So it doesn't really matter what your alcohol is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed that pairing. Thanks, Norma. I really appreciate it. Bryn says the olives make the wine sizzle, so I agree.
A little fritzy on the palate.
Yeah, and the Franklins say that it paired well with blue cheese, which I have not tried this wine with blue cheese yet.
Oh.
So Bryn, or the Franklins, that is great to hear. I'm really anxious to try that. I'm glad to know that a wine with such bold flavor, or a cheese with such bold flavors, stands up to this wine. So that's next on my list. So
it's an incredible wine. It changes all the time, and it becomes more mysterious and more exciting.
Well, thank you. Do you think it's time to move on to the next one? Does everyone think so? We don't we don't have any people raise their hands, I guess, but okay, we'll move on to the next one. So the next one is our Clairette Blanche. So Clairette Blanche is a super favorite at the winery. Just ask Norma, because I think Norma buys more Clairette Blanche than anybody that comes into the winery. But it's also super rare varietal from the south of France. I only know of 2 other wineries in the U.S. making a single varietal Clairette Blanche. And then I wanted to mention too, while we're talking about Bourg Blanc and Clairette Blanche, our beautiful blend Ingenue. It contains Grenache Blanc. It has 35% Clairette Blanche. It has 20% Bourg Blanc, and then 10% Poole Blanc. So if you like these 2 wines that we're trying now, I really urge you to try the Ingenue. It's sold out in 2 weeks last year in the tasting room. I made more in 2019 to help satisfy demand, but it's really a special. So Clairette Blanche, really unique varietal, and I think I have never met a wine that pairs so well with cheeses. I know we have cashews with this pairing, because cheese is pretty hard for me to ship. At least good cheese is hard for me to ship. So E&T are asking, how old are your vines? So the Clairette Blanche, it's a baby vine for us. It was planted in 2015. That's when they first became available to us. So they are from France. Tablas Creek brought over the clones through Chateau Beaucastel. They're half owned by Chateau Beaucastel in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, France. And we were able to get the vines in 2015. So these are pretty new varieties for us, but Claret Blanche in the vineyard. I wish you all could come and walk the vineyard at harvest time. This grape tastes like a candy apple. It's beautiful, sweet, and yet it has the crispness like an apple has. It's just an absolutely gorgeous grape, let alone, my goal is to take that beautiful grape and make it into a good wine. But it's really something that's, Brett is saying it gives the viscosity. Does the viscosity give your wines the creamy mouthfeel? Yes, definitely.
And the Surly.
Surly, yes. Oh, and Gabriel said this varietal is sweeter. So that's really interesting too, Gabriel, because all of our wines are 0% residual sugar, meaning that technically, if you examine them, they have no sweetness to them. But it's the aromas of this wine that make you think that it has a sweet character. Same with Viognier, and sometimes a lot of people get it with Rosé also. But the palate is dry. But yeah, a lot of people find that this wine, because of the viscosity and the aroma, which, Norma, I'm going to let you talk about the aroma. Go ahead.
Oh, do I have to? I want to say something like I've been tasting and analyzing this wine. I've been drinking this wine for almost 2 years now, and it is just the most remarkable wine to me. And, seriously, people, I have tasted and evaluated thousands and thousands of wines over my career. I taught sensory evaluation for 8 years to hundreds and hundreds of students, featuring over 18 to 25 wines a night. And that was 3 different classes that I taught. And when I was turned on to Sue's wines a couple years ago, I was like, I cannot believe these wines. Now, I was a retail buyer for a store in Napa for many years, and I carried Claret Blanche as a sparkling, and it's called Claret DD. It's from an appellation in France called D-I-E. It didn't taste nothing like this. I taste this. This wine is addicting. It changes all the time. The aromas, these are my notes, white floral, spiced persimmon, sweet almond, that just that flavor just kind of goes through the wine. It's a surprise attack. That's how I feel about this wine. The sense of figs, ginger, allspice, and dried apricots. Now, what white wine does this? Really, I want to hear your comments, please. Really, what white wine do you know of that does this? And this is from This is from Lodi. It's from a vineyard at the estate. It's Sue's miracle. Sue, it's your miracle. It's what you do. She always wants to say, it's the soil, it's the soil. But it really is a miracle how you make this wine. Incredible.
And Jennifer is getting a bit of anise on it also, Norma. Did you get that? I think that's definitely.
I love it.
Oh, Steve says it's outstanding with a smoked Gouda cheese. Definitely.
Hello.
Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah. And we've tried this wine, just to let you know, we had a little cheese party when we first released it. And it was interesting. We had a Hornbacher from Switzerland. We had a Triple Creme from France. We had a Seascape from California and a Tellagio from Italy with this wine. And we couldn't say which one paired the best with this wine. We've tried it with feta cheese. I think cheddar's the only one that really, I would say, avoid our wines unless it was a white cheddar, because I think a yellow cheddar is probably a beer wine. But any other cheese from Europe, I would say definitely.
But wait about that. What about
so
that?
Norma, what do you think of mid-palate? Huh?
Oh, it's gripping me. It's right there. And that's what I said about this. It's that acidity that prolongs that gorgeous and satisfying. I never tire of this wine. I don't tire of all of Sue's wines, really. Sue, you're here. This wine, I don't know. There's something in it. What'd you put in it?
Yeah.
What's in it, Sue?
A little bit of nature.
Yeah, right. But I have it with all kinds of weird vegetables. One of my favorites, I always tell people, cauliflower pizza. Coriander, I like that.
Yeah, that's
Brett?
a good one, Brett.
Oh, yeah. See?
There's so much going on.
We could talk about this wine all night, and I probably would. Sue would say, enough. Well, let's try it with the cashews.
Yes, let's do that.
Oh, yeah.
So
All right.
some salted roasted cashews, and I know not everybody joining us tonight has the little pairings, but if you could kind of, even if you have a piece of cheese, it gives you the same kind of characteristics that you would get with these nuts, because they have a lot of fat in them. They're real buttery, and that's what you're getting when you pair this wine with cheese. So we'll try some cashews with it. See what you think. I should silence my mic when I chew.
Oh, come on. Are you hearing me chew?
No. I have to chew loudly, I think.
What do you think about, everyone, the cashew texture and the claret blanche with that? The texture.
Wow.
Texture is one thing I've noticed that Rodney and Sue, you both, put these pairings together. There's so much texture and mouthfeel with each one. But your wine, all of the wines, stand up to the textures, to the complexes, to the all the different kinds of salty, sweet, bitter, whatever. They hold up to it.
Yeah, and I think too, a charcuterie board goes really well with this wine. If you have different cheeses and nuts on a charcuterie tray. And that's one thing too I want to kind of talk about, because I've always said that white wine is like the second-class citizen in a winery. The typical winery, you walk into, you're handed one glass of white wine, and the rest are beautiful reds that are usually way high expensive. In France, when we would go to little wineries, the whites were always the most expensive wines on the menu. The reds were less expensive, especially in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And I asked the winemaker there, why are your whites more expensive? And he said, well, you should know. You make white wines. They're harder to make.
Yeah.
And that's actually the reason I focused on whites initially was, well, I fell in love with a white Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and that changed my life. But also, I was always challenged by making the whites in the style that I wanted. It's real hands-on process, at least initially, while the wines are in tank. It's like babysitting. You have to check on them every day. You have to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to, or you could lose them. Reds are more forgiving that way. You have to really pay attention to them. So let's see. Steve's going to share the rest of the bottles with his guests tomorrow. Well, that's great, Steve. And these wines stay for days in the refrigerator. I wouldn't worry about keeping them for a few days. What do you think, Norma?
Well, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Leftover wine? What is that?
Oh, what? I don't know. Actually, your wine is actually better after it's been open for a couple of days. I know it's a stretch, because I never know, but it does. It really opens up. But what I love is this comment, Jennifer McNeil, a small flower comes through, subtle. I love these comments. They're awesome. And the reason why I'm going to tie this into your question, Sue, is that I think that as the wine opens up and develops, you will get more and more and more of these interesting aromas and flavors. So
yeah, you don't want to drink these wines too cold. Like I always say, if you have an inexpensive grocery store white wine, or red for that matter, you're going to want to drink that as cold as possible.
Yeah.
But why do you want them to open up, Norma? Why don't you tell why you want them to open up?
Well, first of all, I've never really enjoyed white wine this much. And are you talking about your wine? Why?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because as they warm up, the complexities of the wine come through. I can't taste or smell that much when they're refrigerator cold. And you could even, if you did, like I know someone had it in the refrigerator, no worries. Just pour enough in your glass and you can warm it up in your hands like this. But you get so many more vapors in the nose. Like when you're swirling it, you cover it up and trap those aromas. Those aromas, those vapors will not escape if they're cold. They're going to be tight. So the more that you warm it up, and Sue, your wines are so beautiful,
Hold it
room
like
temperature.
this. Warm it up.
I know, my husband can't believe it. And he's a sommelier also. He's like, "You're drinking that wine room temperature?" I said, "Yeah." As I watch him with his second glass.
So Ed has a good question. He says, Sue, anything you recall making these wines that was different or difficult or just normal winemaking vintage? Yes, they each have their own little challenges in the winery and in the vineyard. So I've been walking this vineyard now for 15 years. We know the different varietals, and I can see if there's challenges coming as we go. But there are a couple of my pet peeves in the vineyard with the next wine, Roussanne, which I call the princess. But Claret Blanche does have some interesting characteristics also. It's great in the vineyard. It's super great in the vineyard. It needs a little attention during fermentation because there's something about the makeup of it that will create some hydrogen sulfides if you're not careful. But that's all winemaker stuff, and in the winery we don't add a lot of the things that a large winery would add. We try to keep everything minimal because I drink a lot of it, so I want to keep it as clean as possible.
Yeah, I do too.
So yeah, but as far as the vintages go, this year our vintage is down about 30%, which was standard all across Lodi. So we're going to have a lot less wine in 2020 vintage. So just want to kind of give you a heads up. Out of wine year after year, and COVID's kind of changed that this year. Plus we had more cases that we produced, but next year is going to be much less. And so just kind of want to give you a heads up on that. If you're liking the wines coming out early next year, you might want to stock up on them if you're really liking them. So yeah.
Before we move on, I want to just note, I really am so happy and grateful for your comments. And like E and T, my husband says the nose is like when you slice into a Granny Smith apple. I get fruit, tree, blossoms, and floral. So I just want to tell you, I appreciate your notes so much. Thank you. I think you're really getting into that glass.
We have some really high-end consumers on this that have chosen to join us for this tasting instead of watching the politics on TV tonight. So I really appreciate that.
Good for you. I appreciate your comments.
This helps through all kinds of situations too, doesn't it?
And with that, let's pour.
All right, the next one, our Roussanne. So we were just talking about problem children in the vineyard. And Roussanne, we have 2 acres of Roussanne planted here. It was one of the first varietals we planted because I love Roussanne. There's only, just to kind of give you an idea of the problem of Roussanne, there's only about 300 acres of Roussanne in the U.S., which, just to give you a frame of reference, Lodi has 110,000 acres of wine grapes. We have more acres of wine grapes in Lodi than Napa and Sonoma combined, but Roussanne, 300 acres in the U.S., but it's been planted off and on for over 100 years in the U.S., so it's been planted and pulled out. But there's issues in the vineyard with Roussanne that happen in Paso Robles, happen in France. It's just the nature of the varietal. So it ripens unevenly. That's probably the number one challenge. You could have on one little cluster of vines, you could have raisins next to green fruit that hasn't developed, next to beautifully ripe fruit. So we have to try to pick a time when the most of it is this beautifully ripe fruit, and we pick it at that point. Like I said, we walk the vineyard. We're not only testing for sugar levels, we're also testing for ripeness. And this is something you kind of develop over years of trying these different grapes on the vine. You get to know when they're ripe, so it's not just a calculation number, but you are able to take into consideration what the vineyard's doing and the ripeness levels in addition to the sugar levels. But we do pick at low sugar levels, so that ensures lower alcohol and higher acid wines, which is what we're going for. So, Roussanne. Norma, why don't you tell us a little about Roussanne?
I hate to say that I think I poured a little bit more in this glass.
I have more than you. Rodney poured this one. So,
Rodney.
Yeah, I think he's going to drink the rest of it. Yeah.
Plug. Okay, well, Sue, you didn't talk about the name Roussanne. It's French for
russet. Yeah, so it has a russet color when it's ripe in the vineyard. So Rousse means russet in French, and so it has the name Roussanne. That's where it gets its name. I tried beautiful Roussannes in Châteauneuf-du-Pape at Chateau Beaucastel a few years back, and just gorgeous wines. And just to kind of give you a frame of reference, they're considered really premium wines in France. And the wine that we tried there was $120 a bottle. So it kind of gives you an idea of how unique these varietals are. So, but go ahead, Norma, sorry.
Oh, you're the star. I want to hear what you're saying on this nose before I say anything. All right, what are you hearing, people? What are you smelling?
What do you think? What are you getting? They're just drinking. They're not getting anything yet.
Okay.
I definitely get almond. That's the number one, almost like a marzipan is what I always get with Roussanne.
Apricot. Apricots. Oh, and honey. There's so much. This is like, okay. When I paired this, I'm going to talk about the pairing right away because the pairing is killer. But those apricot and creaminess and that honey and what else did I get? It's just like that stone fruit quality. Your nectarines, your apricots, apricot, yeah, for sure. It's almost like when you're eating some fruit that's really ripe, and you get near the pit, and it's like this really it's got almost like a bitter almond. But it also has that sweetness to it. But, again, 0% residual sugar. And once again, Sue, how do you do it? And this wine has got so much chutzpah. I mean, it's huge. It's strong, but it's delicate. And I can't wait to get to the pairing.
Yeah, just another side note. This wine is usually oaked. In the U.S., it's very, very rare that you would find it unoaked. I believe that Lodi gives you a great sense of fruit forwardness that I do not want to cover up with oak. Therefore, that's why I don't oak the wines. So the Franklins say it's the best with foie gras, and yes, it definitely is. And since we couldn't put foie gras in the little box with the wine, we found some foie gras chips for you.
But they're not made from foie gras.
No, no animals were killed for these foie gras chips, but yes.
What I have to tell you is you have to eat like a bunch of these chips first.
So eat up.
So eat a few.
These chips come from Spain, by the way. And the first time we tried to get them, because we have to order several of them, obviously, they were sold out. So we were so happy to be able to get them because it kind of gives you a little bit of feeling what it would be like to pair this wine with foie gras, which was the most memorable pairing I've ever had in France, which was Chateau Beaucastel Roussanne paired with foie gras. Oh, Jennifer's getting artichoke in this. Do you get that, Norma?
With the pairing?
With the pairing, Jennifer? Or on its own? Jennifer is drinking right now. Uh-oh, there's Robin. Robin
Robin just took
jumped
off.
back on.
Okay, I need to say something about this wine pairing.
Yes.
That's so funny. I was telling Karen I taste ham or pate. Yes, there's definitely game going on here. Gaminess in a good way, of course. Sometimes you go, oh wow, this is gamey, but no. There is some butteriness on the back note. Okay, take it. This potato chip takes some examination. So taste it, and then swallow it, and then I want you to, like you do wine, open up your mouth a little, and there's an involuntary gush of air that comes up from the back of your throat to your retronasal passage in the back here. You need to have a few potato chips to do that. It's really sensual and earthy. Now, when you taste the wine with it, this reminds me. Now, Roussanne is a southern France. It's a Rhone varietal. I have had. Has anyone had Sauternes?
Yeah.
Has anyone had Sauternes? Sauternes are the Botrytis cinerea, Noble Rot, Semillon, and Sauvignon Blanc from Bordeaux. They are quite often used for truffles, foie, any kind of really Roquefort. This wine could hold up to Roquefort. This is incredible. It reminded me so much with that juicy apricot kind of, that pit. Honey. It gets honeyed with the pairing of the potato chip. I want to hear what you think.
Erica says yes. And too, for those that have been to our tasting room and tried our pairings, yes. So the Franklins say yes, truffle. Was wondering how it would pair. Yes, it would.
Very well.
Would this go well with game birds or pheasant? Definitely. Yes. And so in France they grow the varietals that pair super well with the foods that are from the region. So.
Regional.
Yes, obviously, that would be the duck in this region, and in the Châteauneuf-du-Pape area, there's a lot of truffles available. So the whole truffles, the duck theme would be really huge. But, I was kind of taking us back to the pairings in the tasting room, so it doesn't have to be something as expensive as foie gras that you pair with this wine. In the tasting room, we do a little pairing that's called our Spanish tapa. It's a manchego, grated tomato, and fresh rosemary with olive oil. And this is an excellent pairing with this wine. So it could be something super simple if you're looking for something for the holidays to pair as an appetizer before dinner with family. That I would suggest trying that. It's a really nice pairing.
This Roussanne is so remarkable with those types of foods that have actually richer seasonings in them. You know how you put sage in your, I don't know, I do. Sage, I love sage in stuffing. I do oyster stuffing, is traditional. And this wine will hold up to that. It completely will. You know what, when Sue has asked me, what do you think this wine would go with or whatever? Do you ask me that, Sue? I don't know.
Yes, I do.
I just said that.
Ask
Okay.
you.
But anyway, when I've taught food and wine pairing classes for years and years and years. And, it's easy to tell people what to pair with Cabernet Sauvignon. It's easy to tell people what to pair with Pinot Noir. But Sue's wines are so friendly with all kinds of foods that I'm sometimes very hard pressed to say definitively, this wine goes with this food profile, Sue. And so, you can't go wrong with any of these, with anything you serve.
It's really fun when we've had several winemaker dinners here at Acquiesce, and it's been a while with COVID, of course, but we've used several different chefs, and they get so excited about pairing with white wines because they say that there's so many more things that they can pair with white wines than they can pair with reds.
Oh yeah.
So kind of keep that in mind. And, a challenge I put out there too is pick a wine that you like and then try to pair a food with it instead of the other way around. Most people will pick a food and then decide what wine's going to go with it. But maybe make the wine more of a center of the dinner and you'll be really pleasantly surprised. We have lots of great recipes on our website, but there's a lot online too to pick from. So I'd say give that a try. So Bryn was saying she thinks venison would be great with this.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. Anything gamey,
Yeah.
and I think that's why foie gras works because it has that little gamey edge to it. Yeah, I really do. I really
The
think
citrus and the apricot and the honey in this
Smoked.
are unbeatable.
Lightly
Smoked.
Lightly.
Yeah, and what's Rodney's over here on the side here saying? Did you have smoked mussels with this?
Lightly
Yeah.
smoked.
Lightly
Oh.
smoked mussels. You can get them in little tins from Spain, and with that, also great appetizer. Or
Yum.
it was a meal for him.
Ah, Matt
Some-
McCullough had it with pork belly sliders and
Whoa!
Ooh, that's good.
Really,
Wow.
Matt?
That's good.
Matt, can we come over?
Matt.
Ooh, that's good, yeah.
Oh, Matt, you're funny. I know you. I can see that. Good for
Good
you.
to know. Good to know.
Cheers.
Yes. Always afraid of overpowering whites with meat.
That's
Well-
only valid.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too because of course, people think whites go with chicken and fish. Well, that's a given, right? But there's so many more meats that the wines can go with, and vegetables, salads, things like that. But one of our most profound maker pairings was we had a lamb tagine with our Viognier paired, and it was such a super hit. So it kind of shows you, it depends on what is the side with the wine or the sauce
Yes.
with the sauce with the dish. Will give it something to pair with for sure. So, yeah.
Brett says
Yeah,
he's
that's good.
always afraid of overpowering whites with meat.
Yes, and I think give it a try because some of our favorite pairings are actually our Grenache Blanc with cheeseburger, and we've a chef featured our Grenache Blanc with steak tartare at a winemaker dinner. It was amazing because especially if you have a fatty meat. So I see with the pork belly sliders, that's kind of a fatty meat. These acidic wines really will balance the meal. So if you have, any kind of like a pork or that's why even if sushi usually has a higher fat content, pairs really well with these acidic white wines. So, and I don't mean to say acidic in a bad way. Some people think acid is bad, but I mean it's
Right,
just got
yeah.
a nice balance to it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
So does-
acid is one of the most critical components of wine. You lose your acid, you've got nothing. So you have to have, but it's about balance. And it's those
Right.
flavors hit you in the front entry, the mid, and the finish. And your wines all do that.
No. Well, I hope you're enjoying this foie gras chips with the Roussan. That was really fun to pair that with. A couple things too I wanted to kind of talk about coming up because we've got the holidays. Oh, good with turkey, yes. All these whites
Sure.
are really good for the holidays and perfect timing, Jennifer, because I wanted to tell you we've got a special coming up the first week of November. We have a deal on our rosé. We have an offer, 6 bottles of rosé and you get one free. And so we'll be sending out an email early November to let you know when that's being offered. It's only going to be offered for 2 weeks. But I think that rosé, in addition to these whites, are really fun wines with the holiday. I don't think you want to drink a big red wine with turkey. I think the most hearty red wine would be a Pinot Noir. What do you think, Norma?
Yeah, well, I don't want to bite on oak or lumber while I'm having a nice dinner, period. And I think it depends on what they're doing for the oak treatment, which most, if you're getting from California, you're going to get oak. So, yeah, lighter style Pinot Noir, maybe some Sangioveses. If you can get some Grenache Noir, Usually those are neutral oak barrels. But yeah, lighter style reds, definitely.
Yeah,
Because
and so the rosé I think works really well. Like to
rosé
think
would
of
be great.
with rice and turkey. I think it's a really great pairing, and so that's why we're offering that. And then also in November on the 15th we have a virtual class. It's called Cook, Drink, and Learn. And we have a couple guests appearing virtually like this. So it's going to be the 15th of November at 2 o'clock, and guests are going to be David Scott Allen, who writes a blog called Cocoa and Lavender. He's a great cook, and he loves pairing food and wine. And then we have Susan Newman Manfill. She's a PhD, but she's a site called Provence Winezine. Spent years and years in Provence, and really knows these wines. And so we kind of met in the tasting room, and she was shocked to see what we were doing, like Norma said, here in Lodi. And so we're going to have this little virtual class with them, but I'll send out information to you. So if you'd like to join us, of course, it's free. We're featuring 3 different wines to go with the class, and our subject is going to be goat cheese. So
Sue,
yes.
before we go, and I didn't mean
We're not going to go. No, we're not going to go yet. We
Okay.
have a few minutes. Yes.
I want to tell everyone that we have a few of the 2018 Rosé Magnums left, correct?
We do. I haven't even been advertising them, but we do.
Okay. Perfect. I mean, the way that wine is developing is outstanding and remarkable. It really, seriously, it is to die for amazing. I highly recommend getting a magnum of that for the holidays, or just get it, or maybe 2 magnums. It is just wonderful. And, it belies the concept of most rosés, 90% of them now, that we see in our market here, especially the ones from Provence that die out. They're old, they're tired, they're a waste of money. But Sue, your 2018 rosé, which you only have in the magnums, right?
Right. We're sold out of the 18 in
Get
the
it.
750s, and definitely a bigger profile sensation than the 19 rosé. But very limited. I think we are down to our last 10 cases of that. I don't know why I haven't been promoting it because of COVID. I don't know. I'm saving it just in case.
Really?
I don't know.
Get a magnum, people. Do it. It's so delicious. It's remarkable.
Great. So anybody have any questions as we're kind of, we love you both. Of the 3 wines, which is my favorite? Or which is your favorite? Oh, that's a hard one. Oh, boy. I always say it's like telling me to pick between my kids. It's depending on who's being good on a given day. So I have 3 boys, so it'd be like picking between them. They each bring something to the party. And really, I drink all the wines equally. I really do love them all. And it's kind of, to me, the Bourboulon is like falling in love with your youngest child who's got so much going on, so bright and special. The Claret Blanche to me is like having a child who's in their 20s and they're trying to get their act together and they're a little more mellowed out. And then the Roussan, of course, is like my children now in their late 30s, early 40s. So do really love them all. But Norma, you have a favorite for sure.
Please.
Come on, yeah.
Don't put me on the spot like that. Well, again, it's like everything. It's like emotion. What day? What time? What do I feel like? What do I want to gulp? What do I want to savor? Well, of the 3 wines, do I have to answer?
We know it's Claret. We know because of her purchase history. She likes them all, but Claret is number 1. And Robin, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I would just remind everyone that Norma is available to answer any of your questions about wines. If you're looking for which
Please.
wine for a special event or for an everyday dinner, she's also great for pairing suggestions for all of the Acquiesce wines. And you can reach her at SOM, SOMM, at av-wine.com. And I'll put it in the chat box as well.
I love doing this kind of thing, and I've been doing it for years. So do not hesitate. Don't even be shy. You could ask the questions that you think are ridiculous. I don't find them ridiculous. I want to get into it. I love it. So please do.
So ENT says, thank you, so much fun. Glad to hear I don't have to drink all 3 bottles tonight. LOL. You don't have to. I really appreciate you all joining us tonight, and hope that you had a good. We just meet and have a good time and drink, and it's fun to have you join us. But really, watch your emails for some upcoming things. Rodney and I are actually getting away for the first time in 2 years to go fly fishing for 4 days in Northern California, and get a little cooler weather, and we'll be back soon. But the tasting room is open Thursday through a Monday for pickups only from 11 to 2. And Norma or Deanie or Susanna will be out there to help you with your orders. So, and we're sending a lot of wine out by shipping it because, of course, not everyone can stop by. So
Thanks
if
for
you're
all the
interesting,
comments.
and really thank you for your comments.
Cheers.
It's so much fun. And this is being recorded, so if you want to share it with anyone, please just log back on into this link, and you'll be able to see the 15 minutes from now. So
And cheers,
thank you
everyone.
all for joining us. Cheers.
you.
Thank you.